Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Interim Director at WEIU. My co-host is EIU student Mr. Daniel Jones. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for having me once again.
And our guest today is a very important person in our world, EIU President Dr. David Glassman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. How are you today?
We're good for this Monday. We appreciate you being on. You're on via Zoom, in case people are wondering about social distancing. Dr. Glassman is zoomed in. Let's just start it off a little bit with just kind of, we've got, a few weeks into this fall semester, and your thoughts on fall semester 2020 at EIU.
I'd be glad to talk about it. In fact, we're closer to midterms now. I think we're 7 or 8 weeks in, and that's a really positive sign of what we've tried to do to provide a gift for our students. We worked hundreds of hours over the summer trying to do everything that we could in order to prepare the campus to reopen in the fall. We heard from just student after student saying, they really want to come back to campus. They want to all be together. They want access to the university supports that we have available to them for their success. And so we want to do everything possible in order to provide them with that opportunity to come back to campus. And we're all back here now. Obviously, it's a reimagined university and a reimagined environment where our students are doing hybrid classes, remote classes, face-to-face classes, and of course, all of the masking and other health and safety measures that everybody's doing. But we saw this as a gift to the students, and we really wanted to give that to them. That abrupt change last March, where, in 2 weeks' time, we went to spring break, we gave another week, and in 2 weeks we had to change the entire operations of the university to a remote modality and operation, and that was not easy for us, and it certainly wasn't easy for our students. And so that was really a major catalyst to do everything possible so that we could be all together on campus again this fall.
Daniel?
Yes, so we know the pandemic has changed kind of how normal classrooms look. How has it changed things such as enrollment? How has it affected,
Well, this year's enrollment in the fall is very positive. Even in this most difficult environment that we were recruiting students. And you have to remember that when March hit, no longer could we go out and visit high schools. No longer could prospective students and their parents come to campus to visit the university. Even our admitted student days had to go remote. And that certainly put a challenge on our enrollment management and our admissions staff that had to work extra time in order to bring in our class and to bring students here. And of course, the most affected probably by the pandemic are those individuals who were recent high school graduates. That were trying to plan for their first fall semester. And there was a lot of concern, would universities be open? There was a lot of discussion about students taking gap years and staying out of the university for the first year. There was a lot of discussion of maybe staying close to home and going to their community college and just taking perhaps some general education classes. We had to work against those because we know that students need to persevere and they need to come back and they need to start at the university. And we worked incredibly hard. Our overall enrollment went up by about 10.5%. We're very, very glad about that. Even our first-time full-time freshmen increased. It increased modestly, about 1.5%. But that's a win during these challenging times. And so now we've had 3 consecutive years of increasing overall enrollment and 3 consecutive years of having larger first-time, full-time freshmen. So we're really on a good track here. There is no doubt we would have had more freshmen had the pandemic not taken place, but we are real pleased that we had a gain over the previous year.
How has COVID affected your daily duties then? What are the numbers right now on campus? Can you relate to our audience so they can kind of be up to date of what you know?
Well, the first question about how has this changed my normal day?
Yeah,
I'm a president that likes to be out and among the people. I like to be out talking to students. I like to attend virtually every event that's taking place in the evenings. I like to be around and hearing from faculty and so on. That has been a 180 change in my day. A typical day for me, the length is about the same as it always was. Get in at 8 and then leave the university about 8:30 or 9 in the evening. But thank goodness, I guess, for Zoom and MS Teams and the other D2L communication routes that we have. Let's just say I am on meetings virtually the entire day, and it is just Zoom on. That's what it's like for me, and it's really hard. I do try to get out maybe for 20 minutes each day and just walk the quads so I can say hi to students. And I am so impressed that our students are wearing their masks and they're behaving in the way that we have asked them to. I mean, very mature. They know that they want to stay on campus and they're doing what's necessary to do so. But my day is completely different than it was. And not in a positive fashion. I appreciate Zoom and so on, being able to talk and see with people, but it's just not the same to actually be out there shaking hands and sharing stories with one another. Your other question about numbers, I wasn't quite sure what you meant by the numbers.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are asking about how many students have had it or are recovering, and just kind of a COVID update, if you can, because it seems to be one of the things that how many people are asking me all the time, so I know they're asking you, so I thought it'd be a good chance for you to get that.
Absolutely. And we are extremely transparent and open about the cases, the positive cases that have taken place in our student population, as well as in our employees. And we have a dashboard that's open to the public. So if individuals go to just our normal website at EIU and then click onto the COVID information, there'll be a link to the COVID dashboard. I don't have it up in front of me, so I can't tell you exactly the numbers, but we update it every Tuesday. And so it is a very accurate account of all of the students' numbers that have had COVID-19 tested positive. And we are so transparent that we are giving those numbers not just for the students we test ourselves on campus, but whether a student tested maybe at Sarah Bush Lincoln or tested somewhere else at an agency or down at Walgreens, we're reporting every single test from our students at EIU. And as I said, I'm really proud of what our students are doing. I want them to continue. We have a little bit of a challenge once students perhaps cross Lincoln Avenue or 9th Street or on the other side of campus. And that's where there isn't quite as much perhaps control that we have over the students. And we are seeing most of the cases that are taking place among our students are occurring off campus. They're occurring when students are engaging socially with each other in groups and not taking the same precautions that they do on campus. So if there's one thing that I can say, just as a public service announcement, to all of our students and our employees, that we must have the same diligence in being safe off campus as we are on campus, because the pandemic and this virus, it doesn't care where you are. If you get exposed, and it's easy to contract this virus, then nobody wants to be isolated, no one wants to be quarantined, and nobody wants to be sick. And so these are just simple safety measures that can protect yourself, can protect your university, can protect the Charleston community, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay. Dan, you have another question for Dr. Glassman?
Sure. Would you say that has there been a increase in positivity rates, or has it been stagnant, or is it going down? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, as we all know that in Coles County we are in the orange warning level, based on the governor's metrics, indicating that we need to work harder in Coles County in order to keep the positivity rate down. Positivity rate, you want to be less than 8% is kind of the threshold. For Coles County this week or this past week was 8.3. So it's getting closer to that mark, and we're looking forward to that. But relative to campus, and that's, I think, what you're directing your question, is that when we onboarded our students and our employees during the fall, we mass tested, as I think you all know, down in the South Quad. So we could see what was the positivity rate of the EIU community. And that positivity rate at that time for our EIU community was about 2.6, 2.7. It was actually even lower than Coles County at that time. So, we were doing a good job. Since that time, we have been testing individuals who have been symptomatic. That is, they're coming to the medical clinic and saying, I feel a little bit sick. I don't know if I have COVID or not. Can I be tested? And we test students there. So we haven't had a large random testing of students and employees since onboarding. So we don't have an accurate positivity rate. To determine a positivity rate, you need a random large sample of individuals and testing them and finding how many of them are positive. So, as my public service announcement number 2, on Wednesday of this week, we are doing mass testing of students and employees at EIU. It's all free. It is going to be conducted in the W lot. That's the lot on 4th Street across from, I guess that would be Andrews Hall.
Yep.
Right there. And you can either drive up or you can walk up. And not only can you get a COVID test for free, you can get a flu vaccine for free at the same time. And so it's going to be really easy. If you drive up, you're just going to put your arm out for your shot and lean your head out and these are going to be the nasal swabs that are just at the bottom of the nose. This is not the one that people try to avoid. It's going to be very, very simple. And so this will get us a new positivity rate for our university so we can see how we're doing. Are we holding? Has it increased? If it's increased, then we've got to be more diligent in how we are behaving and interacting with one another. And then we hope by the time we get into November, we're going to start doing free testing on a weekly basis for about 500 or 600 individuals per week, so we can monitor that positivity rate much more closely than we've been able to in the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks.
Issues with remote learning, has there been anybody, let's talk about for the professors and teachers of EIU, have they had issues? Is it going pretty smooth, have you heard?
It's going pretty smooth, but we know from our students, they prefer the face-to-face education. That's the basic model of an EIU experience. We have been so successful over the last 125 years, and of course this is our anniversary this year. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we haven't been able to celebrate it like we wanted to. But students come here because they want that personalized attention. They want to be taught in the classroom. They want the supports that we have. And with the pandemic, we just can't do it in the same fashion, but our faculty have stepped up just fantastically. They're terrific, and they are engaging our students, and we're doing it remotely the best that we can. And of course, a lot of our students are doing hybrid, where some of the class periods are remote, other class periods are face-to-face. So we're trying to get the best of both sides in there. Engagement is so important with our faculty to our students, but they are doing a terrific job. It has been going smoothly, but assuredly, when the pandemic's over, the vast majority of our classes will go back as they always has been, and that's inside the classroom.
How does a Dr. David Glassman motivate your staff and your vice presidents and the people that are directly under you during this oddest of times that we're in?
Well, certainly being in a public health crisis is never easy for anyone's morale and emotions. And that's no different today. But there's one thing that is a shared core value about all of our employees and our faculty and that is, we're here for our students. We understand what our mission is at EIU, and we value it so highly. We talk about being all in for our students, and we realize that the environment can change, but we have to find a way to still be all in. So I could say that I try to remind that to our employees and to our faculty, but I don't need to remind them, because they are so dedicated and so committed to EIU. And of course, we talk about ourselves as being a family. And, this family is dealing with a strange, unprecedented to us in the last 100 years, and are just stepping up and saying, hey, we got to do it together, got to do it cooperatively. We know we'll get over it, and we just need to navigate through this pandemic, and let's do it with optimism and positivism.
I've noticed that most students and most staff, almost all actually, are following the guidelines. Like you said earlier in the interview, what happens when you see somebody or somebody isn't wearing a mask on campus? What are the repercussions? Do you talk to them, or do you send somebody, or how's that all go about?
Well, if it's anybody that I see, and the students know that I'm out about 20 minutes a day, I can tell. Because as soon, even in a mask, somehow I must look pretty much the same. Probably the most common thing that I see for students who are not following the masking measures, or employees to the degree we need them to, is having their mask below their nose. They have it over their face, but they're still have their nose free. And that is not the right and appropriate way of wearing a mask. So as I'm walking around, I tell people, I don't ask somebody else to tell them for me. I just say, mask up, let's go. If somebody's not wearing a mask, I kind of stop them and say, I know you've got a mask on you somewhere. Let's get it on. And they always do. Now when I'm walking and somebody has their mask below their nose, I see them very quickly just try to do it delicately, put it up without being seen. You got to keep it up. That's the important thing, because as this virus spreads, through the air, your nose is as important as your mouth for expelling air as well as taking in air. So no, I tell people. Now, if a student is an egregious
offender,
multi-violator, okay, there can be repercussions through our student conduct office. And there have been students who have been sent to student conduct because of not wearing their masks or refusing to wear their masks. For employees, it's an HR issue, and they are reported to HR, and it is discussed with them. This is a serious matter. You have to respect this virus, and you have to respect and take ownership in protecting others, even if you feel that you're not going to be vulnerable to it, or it may not affect you very much. It can affect others, and so it's a two-way street, and we want everybody to comply, every single person.
Fall winter commencement, has there been a decision made, or is there going to be a plan, or is there going to be?
It's interesting. We just talked about that today at our President's Council meeting, and the decision, I think everybody probably has that same feeling right now, and that is that we're not going to be able to have an in-person commencement ceremonies this year. But what we are doing is we are exploring, and I think you'll see that it will take place, that we'll be having virtual or remote commencements for this, for the December commencement. So we're getting calls about parents asking should they, get rooms and things like that. So it was time to make that decision. We talk about a vaccine, but even when we hear about vaccines, it's more towards the end of the year or after the first of the year. And so it's just better people to be able to plan now. And so not in person, but remote.
As of now, spring semester will be like the fall, or do you hope to have, in person, or do we even know a timeline for decision there?
Well, interesting, we already have to set our schedules for the spring. And so our schedules for the spring will be very much like they were for the fall, about the same percentage. About a third of the classes will be in person. Another third will be hybrid, where you have in class and remote, and then a third remote. Very similar to what we're doing this semester.
Let's get away from COVID just for a second. Are there other campus changes or projects that are in the works that you'd like to talk about today, Dr. Glassman?
Well, there certainly is one that I think is extremely special, and that is over the course of the last year, we have gone through all of the accreditations and all of the approvals that we needed to start a 4-year traditional nursing school on campus. And we have recently named the school the Gail and Richard Lumpkin School of Nursing. They were wonderful contributors to get this special project into fruition, and it's going to be great for EIU. Another thing that I'll mention is we've always been talking about this new science building. In fact, we've been trying to get a new science building for 20 years. 2 years ago, or in fiscal year 20, we had an appropriation for a new science building that would be located just south of the Tarbell Art Center. This year, they released $11.8 million for the structural design of the building. And we just had our first meeting with the new architectural firm that's going to be building or going to be designing this building just last week. And so that is moving forward, and that is exciting for our university.
I believe Mr. Jones over there has another question for you, sir.
I do. I wanted to ask, this past Friday, a Black Lives Matter flag was raised in South Quad in front of Lumpkin Hall. I wanted to know what led to this decision, and also what does it mean for minority students such as myself moving forward here at Eastern?
That's an excellent question. As we know, 2 years ago, a couple of students started a petition to have a Black Lives flag flown, Black Lives Matter flag flown on campus. And we did a lot of discussion, and there was a lot of debate. It went to the student government and so on. And it came out, the flag that we have, the flag poles, there are 2 of them, one on the South Quad, one in front of Old Main. Those flag poles have been reserved for the American flag and the state of Illinois flag. And so we really didn't have a place to have the Black Lives Matter flag flown in a prominent area on our campus. And so we talked about it over the year, and we decided that we would have an EIU unity flag, a My EIU unity flag, where we would have a flagpole that we could honor and celebrate the diversity on our campus, and also our dedication and our commitment to our minority students, our students in the LGBTQ community, our Latin American students, our Asian American students, international students. And so we thought that this would be a wonderful idea, and we put it in the area, the flagpole, in an area where we have major academic buildings, as well as a number of places where students are living. And so that's a living, learning community. This month and I think this is perhaps an interesting story, I'll make it quick, but this month is the LGBTQ History Month. And so we planned to hang the Pride flag as the first flag for this month. And we talked, our Vice President of Student Affairs, talked to the Pride students, and they said, since the students in our African American community were the catalyst for getting this flagpole to share with everyone, we want the Black Lives Matter flag, the first flag to hang on that flagpole. And I thought that was so wonderful. It's so community oriented that the Pride organization wanted that to happen. And so we put up the Black Lives Matter flag first. Next week, we will have the Pride flag for the rest of their month, the History Month. And of course, when we get to African American Heritage Month in February, the Black Lives Matter flag will again fly. And this is an action, this is symbolic, that EIU is not just saying that we are inclusive. We want people to know it. And we want our students to know it. We want them to feel welcome. And we want them to feel safe on our campus. And so we made that choice to fly that flag and the flag of others to demonstrate we are here for you.
Good story. Good question, Dan. And you stole that one right from me. I was going to ask that next. Fall break is this Friday. Is it your hope that students stay close to home, stay close to EIU and not really go home?
It is really important for me that our students protect themselves and others, whether they stay on campus or they go home. You know, for me to stay on campus, there are so many students who are looking forward to going back home, and I would hate to tell them, you know, don't do that. And it would be safe to do that as long as you practice the simple safety measures that we all know. I mean, we've heard them so many times since last March. If we do that, we're going to be safe whether we're here on campus, here in our community, or back home.
Do you feel that winter sports will be able to play?
If we protect ourselves and do the safety measures, that'll take place. You know, we also asked our students if they're testing on Wednesday, you know, that they should take their computers and books home in case they were to find out if they did go home and they found out they were positive, then they should stay home before they come back and do their 10 days or whatever it is that's recommended for them to stay.
About a minute and a half left. EIU football in the spring and on a Sunday. I think it seems exciting to me. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's very exciting, except, you know, the first game is in February, and you might have to sweep off the seats with snow to get there. But it's a short season. It's a 7-game season. 4 of those games will be home games at EIU. It'll be different. It'll be exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's something different. I think people are going to come out, unless it's a blizzard. But hey, bundle up and let's come on out. So, about 30 seconds left, Dr. Glassman. Any last words you'd like to tell the EIU community on this Monday?
I just want to thank the entire EIU community. I want to thank our students. I want to thank our staff. I want to thank our faculty. You all have come together to make this not just a special place that it's always been, but one in which we could come back in the fall and we could do our work, maybe in a very different way in some cases, but our students are really, really grateful for being here on campus. And it could have just been easy to say, everybody go remote, but no, we did the hard work. Everybody's here, and I'm really, really proud.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great day, sir.
Thank you.
This is WEIU.